The ambulance sat there, lights flashing, unable to cross the bridge to our house. My wife was inside, barely breathing, and I was screaming into my phone at 911. The bridge was blocked, completely covered with furniture, trash bags, and old construction debris. Our HOA treasurer, Patricia Monroe, had dumped it all there that morning. "It's HOA property," she'd said with a smile just hours earlier. What Patricia didn't know was that her little power trip was about to cost her everything: her position, her reputation, and $47,000. My name's Robert Chin. I'm 72, retired from teaching high school chemistry for 38 years. My wife Margaret and I moved to Riverside Meadows HOA 5 years ago, a small community of 15 homes outside Portland. We specifically chose the property at the end of Willow Lane because it had privacy. A small wooden bridge crossed over a creek to reach our driveway. Beautiful, peaceful, perfect for our retirement. The bridge was old but sturdy, built in 1987 by the original developer. According to our deed, it was maintained by the HOA since it also provided access to the community's walking trails. We'd never had issues with it until Patricia Monroe joined the HOA board as treasurer 2 years ago. Patricia was 65, recently divorced, and seemed to need control over everything. She drove a pristine white Lexus and wore pearls to board meetings. At first, she seemed pleasant enough, organized, detail-oriented, the kind of person who color codes her calendar. But Patricia had a problem with us from day one. See, the walking trail that branched off near our bridge had become popular with neighbors. People would park near the bridge entrance instead of using the official trailhead 2 streets over. Patricia complained it devalued the neighborhood aesthetic. She wanted to close our bridge to everyone, except us. We actually agreed with her. Less traffic meant more privacy. But here's where it got strange. When the board voted to restrict bridge access, Patricia suddenly switched sides. She argued the bridge was community property and we were being elitist. The vote failed. That's when I realized this wasn't about the bridge. It was about power and control. Patricia wanted to be the one making decisions, and when she couldn't, she made us her target. The first sign of real trouble came on a Tuesday morning. Margaret was watering her roses when Patricia marched up with a measuring tape. HOA rules specify no plantings within 8 feet of community structures, she announced. Our roses were 6 feet from the bridge. She wrote us up, a $200 fine. We paid it and moved the roses, though I checked the bylaws that night. The rule said 6 feet, not 8. When I emailed Patricia, she never responded. Over the next 8 months, Patricia found new ways to make our lives miserable. Every violation traced back to something involving our bridge. 2 weeks after the rose incident, we received a notice that our mailbox post needed repainting. It was visible from the bridge approach and showed weather damage inconsistent with community standards. I'd painted it 6 months earlier. The fine was $150 if not corrected in 10 days. I repainted it. Then came the bridge itself. Patricia commissioned an engineering assessment, paid for with HOA funds, claiming she'd received safety complaints. The engineer found nothing wrong, but his report noted the wooden railings had minor weathering typical of a 35-year-old structure. Patricia seized on this. She proposed a $12,000 bridge renovation with costs split among homeowners. Our share would be $800. At the meeting, I pointed out the engineer had said the bridge was safe. Patricia's face turned crimson. "Are you calling our safety concerns frivolous, Robert?" Several board members shifted uncomfortably. The vote passed anyway. We paid our $800. Margaret's health had never been perfect. She'd survived breast cancer in her 50s and had developed a heart condition 5 years ago. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but her cardiologist monitored her closely. She took her medications religiously, stayed active, and watched her diet. We'd moved to Riverside Meadows partly because the nearest hospital was only 12 minutes away. Patricia knew about Margaret's condition. The whole neighborhood did. Margaret had needed an ambulance once before, about a year ago, for severe chest pains. False alarm, thankfully. But it had scared us both. That spring, Patricia escalated. She sent an email to all homeowners stating that certain residents are using the bridge for commercial vehicle access, a violation of HOA rules. She meant us. I'd had my nephew help me move some old furniture to a donation center. He drove a pickup truck one time. The email demanded that we pay a $500 fine for unauthorized commercial activity. I was shaking when I read it. For the first time, I called Patricia directly. "This is harassment," I said, keeping my voice steady.
"It's rule enforcement," she replied coolly. "Perhaps if you stop thinking rules don't apply to you." I hung up. Margaret touched my shoulder. "Let it go," she whispered. "It's just money. Our health isn't worth the stress." We paid $500. 3 months later, on a Saturday morning in July, I found Patricia standing on our bridge with 2 men and a pickup truck loaded with trash. Broken furniture, torn garbage bags, old drywall, paint cans. "What are you doing?" I asked. She smiled. "The HOA is temporarily storing materials here during the community cleanup weekend. The bridge area is HOA property. It's in the bylaws." "You can't block our access." "It's only for 48 hours. I'm sure you can park on the street and walk across." She turned to the men. "Start unloading." I watched, helpless, as they piled trash across the entire bridge. When I called the non-emergency police line, they said it was a civil HOA matter. By noon, our bridge was completely impassable. Patricia drove away in her Lexus, windows down, not looking back. That was Saturday. Sunday morning, Margaret woke up gasping. I knew immediately something was terribly wrong. Her lips had a bluish tint. She clutched her chest, unable to speak. I grabbed my phone, dialed 911, my hands trembling so badly I nearly dropped it. "My wife, heart condition, can't breathe." I gave our address. "Ambulance is dispatched, sir. Stay calm. Is she conscious?" "Barely. Please hurry." I held Margaret's hand. 7 minutes felt like 7 hours. Then I heard the sirens. Relief flooded through me. They were here. We'd make it. Then I heard the ambulance stop. Not in our driveway. At the bridge entrance. I ran outside. 2 paramedics stood beside their vehicle staring at the pile of garbage blocking the bridge. The ambulance couldn't fit. They'd have to carry equipment across on foot. "HOA dispute," I shouted, running toward them. "My wife! Upstairs! Heart!" They grabbed their gear and ran. Every second mattered. Every second that trash was stolen from us. The paramedics saved Margaret's life. They stabilized her, carried her across that damn bridge on a stretcher, and got her to the hospital. Acute heart failure. Another 5 minutes, the doctor said, and we'd be planning a funeral. I sat in that hospital room, watching my wife sleep, tubes and monitors everywhere, and something broke inside me. Not into pieces, into clarity. Patricia Monroe had nearly killed my wife over a petty power game. She'd blocked emergency access to our home. That wasn't HOA enforcement. That wasn't even harassment anymore. It was criminal. And if the law wouldn't stop her, I would. But I'd do it right. I'd use every rule, every regulation, every procedure she loved so much against her. Margaret came home 3 days later, weak but recovering. I didn't tell her what I was planning. The stress wouldn't help her heart. I started with the HOA bylaws, all 47 pages. I read them 3 times, highlighting, taking notes like I was teaching a class again. Then I pulled up Oregon state statutes on HOAs and property access, then county regulations, then zoning laws. Chemistry taught me that every reaction requires the right conditions. I just needed to find Patricia's weak points. The first discovery came on page 32 of the bylaws. HOA shall maintain clear emergency access to all properties at all times. Violation allowed homeowners to seek immediate injunctive relief and damages. The second came from county records. I drove to the courthouse. I needed paper copies, something Patricia couldn't claim was doctored. Our bridge wasn't just HOA property. The original 1987 plat map showed it as a private access easement serving our property specifically. The HOA had maintenance responsibility, but they couldn't legally block our access, ever.
I felt my pulse quicken. She'd broken multiple laws. Third discovery. I requested 3 years of HOA financial records. Any homeowner could do this per state law. Patricia had to provide them within 10 days. When they arrived, I spread them across my dining room table. Margaret watched from the couch, curious. "What are you doing?" "Research project," I said. It took me 6 hours, but I found it. Patricia had authorized that $12,000 bridge renovation 18 months ago. According to the treasurer's report she'd filed, the work was completed. But I drove to the bridge that afternoon with my phone camera. The railings looked identical to before. Same weathered wood, same bolts, same everything. I called the contractor listed in the records. "Hi, I'm following up on the Riverside Meadows bridge renovation from last year." "What renovation?" the man said. "Patricia Monroe called me for a quote, but you folks never hired us." I thanked him and hung up. Patricia had embezzled $12,000 from the HOA. We'd all paid for work that never happened. Now I had my reaction formula. Step 1, file police report about the blocked bridge during Margaret's emergency. Step 2, sue Patricia and the HOA for endangerment and violation of access easement. Step 3, report the embezzlement to the HOA board and state authorities. Step 4, let the consequences unfold. I drafted everything that week. Before filing anything, I had one moment of doubt. Was I being vindictive? Then I looked at Margaret, still recovering, and knew. This wasn't revenge. This was accountability. I filed the police report on Monday. The officer who took my statement was professional but skeptical until I showed him the photos. The blocked bridge, the ambulance stopped at the entrance, the timestamps matching my 911 call records. "I'll forward this to the DA's office," he said. "Blocking emergency access is serious." Tuesday, I filed the civil lawsuit. By Wednesday, Patricia had been served. She called me that evening, her voice shaking with rage. "You're suing me? Over a misunderstanding? You blocked emergency vehicles from reaching my dying wife," I said calmly. "That's not a misunderstanding. It was a community cleanup. I had no idea. You knew about Margaret's heart condition. You blocked our only access. See you in court, Patricia." She hung up. I almost smiled. Thursday, I attended the HOA board meeting with the folder of documents. 12 neighbors showed up. Word had spread. Patricia sat at the head table, looking pale. She avoided my eyes. When public comments opened, I stood. "I'd like to discuss the bridge renovation from 18 months ago, the one we all paid $800 for." Patricia's face went white. That was completed." "Really?" "Because I called the contractor. They were never hired. I placed the phone records on the table. I also have financial discrepancies showing $12,000 allocated but no corresponding work orders, invoices, or completion certificates." The room went silent. Board President Donald Kim picked up the documents, frowning as he read. "Patricia, can you provide proof of completion?" I have the records. This is a misunderstanding." Her hands trembled. "Where's the $12,000? Someone called out from the audience. Donald's face hardened. "This meeting is adjourned. Patricia, you're suspended from board duties pending an investigation. Everyone will receive an email tomorrow." Patricia gathered her things, hands shaking, and walked out. Several neighbors glared at her. One woman actually whispered, "Thief." The investigation took 2 weeks. The HOA hired a forensic accountant. They found that Patricia had written herself a check for $11,800 labeled Bridge Renovation Contractor Payment and deposited it in her personal account. She'd kept $200 for administrative processing. The HOA board voted unanimously to remove her and file criminal charges. The DA's office added the embezzlement to their case. My civil lawsuit moved forward. 6 months later, we sat in meditation. Patricia looked 10 years older. Her lawyer had advised her to settle. She agreed to pay $47,000, covering my legal fees, punitive damages, and emotional distress. The criminal case was still pending. "I never meant for anyone to get hurt," she whispered. I stood up. "But someone did. You just didn't care. Patricia Monroe was convicted of embezzlement and reckless endangerment. She received 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and was ordered to repay the HOA in full. Her reputation in Riverside Meadows and the wider Portland HOA community was destroyed. The HOA board underwent complete restructuring. Donald Kim remained president, but they recruited younger, more reasonable members. The new board's first action was passing a resolution. Emergency access to all properties must remain unobstructed at all times, with violations subject to immediate board removal and legal action. They also had our bridge properly inspected and reinforced. Actual work this time, paid for by Patricia's restitution payments. They installed a small plaque on the railing, dedicated to the safety and well-being of our community. Margarita recovered fully. Her cardiologist was amazed by her resilience. But more than her physical health, I noticed something else heal. The constant stress that had been weighing on both of us for 2 years was gone. We could enjoy our home again. The roses bloomed. The creek babbled peacefully under our bridge. Neighbors stopped by regularly, apologizing for not standing up to Patricia sooner. We thought it was just petty HOA stuff, one admitted. We didn't realize how bad it had gotten. 3 months ago, we celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary on our back deck. 15 neighbors came. We laughed, shared stories, and watched the sunset over the bridge. That night, Margaret squeezed my hand. "You fought for us," she said quietly. "I do it again," I replied. And I meant it. Sometimes standing up to a bully isn't about revenge. It's about making sure they can't hurt anyone else. Looking back now, I don't feel angry anymore. Patricia made choices, and those choices had consequences. That's not revenge, that's accountability. I learned something important through all of this. Documentation matters. Every email, every photo, every receipt. When someone abuses power, the truth is your strongest weapon. I also learned that staying calm and methodical is more effective than anger. Patricia wanted me to lose my temper, to look irrational. I refused to give her that. Most importantly, I learned that communities work best when people look out for each other, not when one person tries to control everyone. If you're dealing with an HOA bully or someone abusing their authority, remember, keep records, know your rights, and don't be afraid to hold people accountable. The rules they love to enforce work both ways. Thanks for listening to my story. If you found this helpful or satisfying, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. There's wisdom in shared experiences, and maybe our stories can help someone else stand up for themselves. Take care.